So let's talk about it. My year without Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. And Twitter. Maybe it goes without saying, I'm just gonna say it. I am just one person, and this was my experience. In no way am I trying to judge you or shame you for your phone and social media usage. I sure hope it doesn't come across that way. I totally thought that this video would be like my war cry against social media, but as I reflected, it just doesn't seem like it can fit into the category of extremes like it seems like our culture is obsessed with. So I'm just gonna share my takeaways and hopefully let that spark some meaningful reflection for you as well. So let's first talk about the pros, all right? There are quite a few things that I like about social media. Basically, I feel like I can just sum them up into 2 words: information and inspiration. Wow, the yard work is coming in hot. There are quite a few creators and experts in their field that I love that I have access to. And although there's a lot of things that I'm gonna get into that I don't like about social media and just phone usage in general, I'm really grateful that I live in a time where information is available to me. I can get on my computer, I can listen to a podcast, basically have a conversation with an expert for free. Any expert I want, and I think that's really cool. If you're watching me on a screen right now, YouTube is social media. I think it's really cool that I've been able to start this YouTube channel. I love creating content here. It's become like a little side business for our family, and I'm just really grateful for it. I think that doing a digital detox, like Cal Newport talks about in his book, Digital Minimalism, is a great tool, or can be a great tool to figure out what is healthy for you, what is serving you, and what isn't. We'll get more into Instagram. I don't miss inspiration much from Instagram. So that being said, let's talk about the cons. I just don't believe our brains are wired for constant connectedness. Kind of slot machine of you don't know what might pop up to the top of your feed anytime you log on. It adds to stress and overload and thinking too much about other people and what they're up to. Scrolling is more like this though. But whatever happened to solitude? What about when you used to walk with no headphones, or stand in line without Instagram, sit in a waiting room, no phone, journaling, praying, laying in the shade, looking up at the clouds, no agenda? How about playing with our kids without the background hum of distraction? So is there a practice to mitigate the negatives and make the most of the positives? I think yes, but it requires a lot of intentionality. And maybe so much so that you have the type of career or life where you can cut it out entirely, and I say go for it. Here are a few of the things that I have learned from a year without social media that I feel mitigate the negatives a bit more. Number 1 is a digital detox. Taking a break, only you know how long you need, from maybe absorbing so much and just processing. Let it all settle. Let the chips fall where they may. Maybe you'll even decide that certain social medias or social media at all shouldn't be on your phone. If I'm going to use social media, it's going to be on my computer, which just makes me engage with social media so differently than it does when I have it constantly available to me on my phone. Number 2 is quiet time. Again, I don't know how much you need. Maybe it's a walk around the block with your phone off, but having quiet time on a regular basis helps me to regulate my emotions, listen more to my own needs, and tell when things are going wrong so that I don't numb out and use social media and my phone to numb out that stuff instead of dealing with it. Number 3 may not apply to you if you're not a follower of Jesus, but for me, having and practicing Sabbath, taking time to completely disconnect and rest and just be with my family. Again, there's no rules to that. Things get really chaotic. It's nice to know that there will always be Sunday. And then the last 2 are just personal boundaries that we've put into place in our family, having a time that we turn off our Wi-Fi at night. And for us, that's kind of like the marker of like, okay, the phones are going away, the computer's going away, work is done. It can be really tricky if you're someone that, like my husband works from home and I do YouTube, so our whole life happens here at home. And when you have the internet constantly available to you, it can be kind of tricky to tell your body and your spouse and your other family members when work is over. Turning off our Wi-Fi, right before dinner time is kind of like that marker of like, hey, everything work related is done. And some people will leave their phone in the car when they get home from work. It might be something helpful too. There's also just lots of research showing why turning off Wi-Fi at night is great for our health and our minds and our bodies. So getting into that kind of habit has been helpful for our sleep and just our stress in general. And then the last point is dumbing down my smartphone. Throughout this year without social media, I realized more and more that it wasn't just social media that was the problem. It was actually the constant availability of my phone. Those 1 to 2 second checks that were not even for anything, is just a habit to check my phone whenever I saw it. Whether that was like my email, text messages, phone call, I don't even know. Sometimes I just open the passcode and be like, what am I even doing here? Dumbing it down to just calls and texts, and actually I've added the podcast back in because we talked about that earlier, has really helped me to kind of like break that habit, addictive habit of checking my phone. Those 1 to 2 second, like my brain just gets distracted, and dumbing down my smartphone, at least for me right now, has been a great tool to make that happen and not feel like my life as a mom with 2 little kids all day is just like completely out of control. People with kids talk about this, that it's the transition is hard from screen to life. Like when you turn off a TV show, it's really hard for kids to switch back to reality. And I would argue that it's not just kids that struggle with that, it's humans. We have to give our brains time to switch, a transition period between screens and reality. Like anything that has the potential to be addictive, I think the question to always ask yourself is, how much do I need this? How okay am I without it? Another thing to pay attention to, at least for me, is when do I turn to it? Is it in moments of distress, anxiety, boredom, loneliness? Or is it in moments when I'm genuinely interested in learning a new skill or a recipe or lifestyle inspiration that is helping me live more in line with who I am and what my values are? Is this information making me a better mother, a better spouse, a more genuine follower of Jesus? Or is it pulling me away from those things? For some reason, we think that people behind screens are special. People behind screens are still just people. Pay attention and take care. Thank you so much for supporting my work by watching these videos. I just really appreciate it. I think that's it for this video. I'll see you next Wednesday for more conversations about slow living and minimalism.